Okay, got it.
Hello, everyone. I'm Diana Drake with Dr. Dale Wellness, and I'm so excited to have our guest, Mary Ann Morris, with Heal Thy Cooking. She is going to do a fabulous presentation on some very disturbing things that are in the cookware that we use, that our clients use, and how we can mitigate our exposure to heavy metals and some other toxins by changing this up. So I am just going to let this roll. This will be sent out to everyone and available in our practitioner database forever. It will live there. So without further ado, Mary Ann, go ahead and I will stop you if I have any major questions. And thank you
Great.
so much for your time.
Well, thank you, Dr. Diana. It was such a pleasure to meet you. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to eat you up. I was so glad. There were
Thank
so
you.
many master classes to choose from at that 3-day event. And I am so glad I went to yours. And if you remember, I was the one, my first one and only question was, are you local and are you taking new
I
clients?
do remember. You're also very equally adorable, and I do remember.
Yeah. So, well, thank you. It's an honor to be asked by you to share. And so, yes, I'm Mary Ann, like Gilligan's Island, with Healthy Cooking of Texas. And the reason we also call ourselves Heal Thy Cooking is, I don't know if you can tell on the apron, but the T is the cross. So it is Heal Thy Cooking. And we're about healing from the inside out. And a little bit about my backstory, why I got involved in this is in a couple weeks, I'm about to be 64. But when I first learned about cooking this way, I was going on 46 and I was not healthy. I was just starting to learn about food. But I remember from age 3 until then, struggling with a lot of things, mainly digestive issues, but a lot of autoimmune issues, and definitely impact on my endocrine system. So many different things, and so when I met this chef at a health store, he offered to come cook for me, and my husband didn't want any part of that. And he reluctantly agreed because I wanted that. And my parents, well, my mom, who was going to turn 69, they had an opening on her birthday, thought that sounded fun. So my very grumpy dad came with her. And my dad, the reason I was unhealthy is because my dad was a very picky eater and he hated vegetables and he loved fried foods and he would salt things to death. And he got away with it too, it seemed, but we really don't. And so by that time in his life, he was having dangerously high blood pressure and cholesterol issues. And doctors wanted him on some pretty major medication for very serious reasons. And he's stubborn and he didn't want side effects. And I agree with that, but he wouldn't change his diet. So when the guy came to cook for us, his name was Philip, my dad went for seconds on the vegetables and did not put salt on anything. And it was so amazing. So he was so impressed that he got this right away so my mom could start cooking this way. And so when he discovered that I kept sharing this chef, Philip, with my neighbors and my church friends and all that, because it was just so enlightening and fun. And they were starting, well, my dad said, why are you letting him cook for your friends? Why don't you do this as a business? And my comeback was, Dad, I'm not a salesperson. And his comeback was, well, I didn't get sold. I got educated and you're a homeschool mom. So we're retired Air Force and I homeschooled my 3 kids over 26 years time because there's a big gap between 2 and 3. And so what really got me to put on the apron is that those friends got their lives turned around too. And probably, I don't know, 16 different families I knew. And so I started seeing it as a ministry disguised as a business, hence our name, Healthy Cooking or Heal Thy Cooking, because they were so grateful for how it was helping them with so many different things. So I decided to train, and I've been teaching this for over 18 years. And so last year, I actually became certified as a nutrition instructor to teach certain classes as they're coming about. So lots of topics. So that's what I love. So tonight I'm going to share about the cooking side. So what we do, the men love it too, is we lead with science on how using the right methods to prepare and to cook your food impacts the health and a lot of other things besides. So we do this in 2 ways. We do in-person sessions. We're in the DFW area here in Texas. So people here get to let me cook them an all-out 8-item meal with dessert, and it's so healthy and delicious. But we also do virtuals across the country. So I just did one in Florida earlier today. I'm doing Kansas tomorrow. So the thing is, health, we think it's just what we eat, but it's actually what you absorb. And so cooking right changes that. So what makes us different from the rest is we are scientifically proven to maximize the retention of the healing properties, the nutrients, and the fiber. And we also omit the toxic reaction that occurs with other cookware. So for those reasons, we're the only cooking system recommended by, I don't know if you know Neil Bernard, Dr. Neil Bernard, but he's the founder of the Cancer Project, which came out of the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. And these are like over 10,000 doctors who actually study nutrition, very deep dive studies. We're also the only cooking system recommended by the International Diabetes Federation and a lot of holistic practitioners all around the globe. I work with several in the Metroplex area, which is why I was at the same event as Dr. Diana. And even David Wolf, who I don't know if you know who he is, he's a top raw food guru. And we're the only system of cooking he uses personally and recommends in his own classes. So there's a lot of credibility to us instead of, oh, yeah, we're just blowing smoke. So let's talk about keeping the good. I'm going to talk about good things, right? So we need the nutrition and the healing properties to get the health benefits, right? So one of the things we are is called, and this may be something you've heard of or not, but it's called waterless. Now, there's a lot of waterless imitators of us out there. So what waterless does basically is it prevents you from diluting the nutrition, which affects your flavor, but also your health, right? So what sets us apart from the other ones is temperature. So they're using valves that are like steam valves or jiggly lids. They spit all over your stove and they have all these gizmos, right? But it's really hot. It's about steam temperature. So we're going to talk about temperature a little bit. Just remember that. So what we also do is we have a semi-vacuum way of cooking. And some people say like a pressure cooker. Well, it's the opposite of a pressure cooker in a sense, because pressure cookers are very destructive. This is very gentle. But locking out the air and light is very, very important. It may not be the most important thing, but it helps. Air and light, you know how an apple turns brown when you're eating it too slowly? That's oxidation. Oxidation is linked to free radicals, and we know free radicals accelerate cancer growth and aging. So even a little thing like that can be very helpful. The other thing that's helpful is we give you the freedom. It's not that you have to, because this is America, you can cook how you want in our system, but it's engineered so that it requires little to no oil to cook where other things would require that. So you might think, yeah, but I can do that with nonstick. Well, we'll talk about that later. So I know healthy fats are good for us, but too much of a good thing, not so good, right? There are some studies that show that excess oil and fats can suppress the immune system and impact insulin resistance. So one of the things I show you, whether it's virtual or I'm actually cooking for you, is how to fry chicken with no oil. I don't even have any skin on it. Now you can leave the skin on, but it's amazing. And our heart patients and cardiologists love us. And so do our diabetics. So that's a nice thing. Now, another thing, let's get to the temperature. That is probably one of the most important things of all of these. Anything you cook above 200 degrees will destroy the majority of the nutrition and the fiber and the healing properties. Well, you might wonder, well, what's over 200 degrees? Everything you do in your kitchen. Think about boiling. Boiling is 212 degrees, so that's 12 degrees too hot. Steaming sounds healthy. It's 20 degrees hotter than boiling. That's why steam is used to kill germs and bacteria. So what is it doing to their vitamins? Right? Makes sense. Now, what are the things people love to save time? Well, they turn to the Instapot, which is a glorified pressure cooker. Remember I said we're the opposite of that? And then there's the microwave, and then there's the air fryer. What people love about this is it's time saving, those, right? Is time saving, but their temperatures on low. People say, well, I don't actually cook in the microwave. I just reheat it. Well, the lowest temperature is a range of 250 to 400, but when you're cooking, it goes up to 1200. So all of those are way, way above 200 degrees, right? So yes, it saves time, but what about the health results? So let me tell you, studies show, and I have carried this around with me. Gosh, I think before I learned about cooking this way, when I was just starting to learn, this comes from the Journal of the Science of Food and Agriculture. I got this out of prevention.com. So that's my source for this here. Plus, we have our own studies. But boiled vegetables kept only 20% of their antioxidants. And they were specifically testing broccoli, which is the #2 cancer fighter. That's pretty bad. That's 80% loss. Steaming is hotter, right, by 20 degrees. So you know that's worse. And then when they microwaved the broccoli, it destroyed 95%, leaving you with 5%. Well, that means for every $100, we all have grocery bills. Think about how many hundreds of dollars you spend a month. Maybe it's 500, maybe it's 1,000, maybe it's in between. For every $100, you're getting about what, $5 to $20 of nutrition out of your cooked food and the fiber. That's a waste of healthy food and money. Would you agree with that? Right? So the imitators of us, like I said, they have steam whistles, which is at that, hotter than boiling, 232. Ours signals you at 187 degrees, which is 13 degrees lower than the 200 you need to not go above, and it's 45 degrees lower than the others. So our studies were done at the University of Wisconsin Food Science Department in Hazleton Labs, and here's what they found. The average retention of the nutrition in our cooked food was 93%. Now, they were very specific. Our lowest performer was carrots, and it retained 88.3%. Potato was 93.4%, and broccoli was our star. It kept 98.1%. What a difference from 5 to 20%, right? Do you see why health isn't just eating the broccoli, is what are you getting from it, right? And 80% of the nutrition is attached to the fiber. And the fiber is what satisfies you, and it's the broom that sweeps out the toxins, right? So the results are a lot of significant health benefits. For one thing, you're full with less food, and also it slows sugar absorption into the bloodstream. This is very impactful for our diabetics. Our diabetics can tell a difference right away when I'm cooking for them, and when they start cooking for themselves, which is amazing. Inflammation, right? Sugar, inflammation go together. Cancer, a lot of cancers love sugar. And when you're full with less food and you don't get hungry for a long time because there's so much to digest there, right? Didn't get destroyed. It helps a lot of people who have weight goals, and people's energy, their food bill goes down. They're eating less food, right? It's just a cause and effect. The average savings for our customers is 30%. Now, I do have quite a few holistic customers, practitioners, who were eating super, super clean, organic. Like you couldn't eat healthier than they were before they met me. And they're even seeing 40 and quite a few of them 50% savings. Think what that is if you're doing organic food, right? People also notice the flavor is so much better, and they're energized when they're full. I had a 24-year-old about 3 months ago, came with her parents, and she said, when I'm full like this, I want to take a nap for 30 minutes. She said, right now, if I could go find a gym that's open, I'd go work out. And that is not unusual. And that's a great feeling. Now, sometimes people say, well, if heat is such a problem, then maybe we should all go raw, right? It sounds logical, but it's not the real good answer. And here's why. The benefits you get from raw, you need balance, right? The raw gives you enzymes, right? Because enzymes perish sooner than the vitamins and the minerals, and it gives you fiber, and that's good. But there's a lot of foods that they hold back their vitamin release and their healing properties if they're raw. Broccoli is my favorite example, and I learned this from the Cancer Project doctors. Raw broccoli will not yield you its vitamin C and certain cancer fighting properties. When you cook it, provided you don't kill it, like we talked about, it gives you such a huge amount of vitamin C that's activated and released, and the antioxidants, the cancer fighting properties. And not only does it release more, but it allows your body to have the ability to actually absorb it. So again, your health isn't just what you're eating, is what are you absorbing? You get 4 times more lycopene, which fights prostate cancer, out of a properly cooked tomato than a raw tomato. So there's a lot of foods that fall in that category. And this is why David Wolf, the raw foodie, recommends us, right? So now let's talk about the thing Dr. Diana touched on, material, how important this is if you really do care about a toxic-free lifestyle. There's toxins all around us. We can't control everything, but there's some things we can. This is one of those things. So as a matter of fact, I have a number of holistic practitioners that do detoxing with their patients, and then they'll tell them, if you come to me, which you should for detox, and then you continuously cook toxins into your food, it's kind of counterproductive, right? And so I get a lot of those patients who are looking for real answers. So did you know aluminum is not just used in restaurants? It is the main thing restaurants cook in, but it's actually used in stainless steel. It has to be. Stainless steel will not heat up if it doesn't have a heat conductor, right? You want the heat, you just don't want it in your food. That's what sets us apart. So we switched from 304 stainless to 316 Ti some years ago, and it's 20 times harder and stronger than stainless steel is, and it's non-reactive, so it does prevent the reaction of metals into the food. And we know that not all metal is equal, right? The same with 316 Ti. So we secured an exclusive supply agreement because we were the first company to want to really look at the importance of using 316 Ti in cookware. It's a very expensive pain to manufacture, but it is a dream for cooking in and cleanup. So I know everybody wants to know that, right? What it does is it provides the purest, cleanest, and safest cooking surface. So that impacts your flavor and it impacts your health. It's critical in a lot of other industries that were using it before we were. So I'm going to go one extreme to the other. The highest extreme is there are industries that use extremely corrosive acids and extremely high temperatures. They cannot use stainless steel because it would turn green, it would corrode, and it would shatter. This material is used by those industries too. Even NASA uses it in their firewalls. It's a big deal. Now, the opposite end of the spectrum on application is surgeons use it in our body now because it's non-reactive. Well, our temperature is raw. We're 98.6 degrees. So it's not just for extreme situations, but that's how importantly wonderful it is. But it's important for this end too. And you might like to know food manufacturers use this. So one of my customers is an inspector of food manufacturers. And when he found out this is what we use, he was sold. He was so impressed. And I asked him to share what he knew because I didn't even know that's what he did. So to give you an example of how important and pricey this material is, do you know that if you ever have a dental implant done, 2 little screws are around $1,000, maybe $1,200 even. So it's very important material, obviously, or they wouldn't be doing that. Now, stainless steel either heats up because it has aluminum. Sometimes you can see it clad on the bottom, and it's an easy giveaway. Other times you can't see it. It's sandwiched in between the outer and the inner layer, right? Right in the middle there. Or it uses copper. Copper is more expensive. I don't think it's as good as a heat conductor as aluminum, but it does cost more. And you can usually always see it. It's either clad. There's a famous celebrity chef brand that uses that. I carry it with me on my demo so people can tell the difference. Here's the problems, and most of you probably know this, but for those who don't, I'm just going to share. And I get this because one, I've done my homework, and two, I cook for so many holistic practitioners, so I learn a lot from people. It affects the brain, right? It crosses the blood-brain barrier. So this is why Dr. Bain, and also Dr. Nadeau, who are local integrated pediatricians, treat children on the spectrum. Well, their patients are my customers. And they're seeing such a difference on their kids' cognitive skills, even lab work, and even their moods, right? Because it affects us. So that's aluminum, or any metal, I guess I should say. breast cancer patients tell me they immediately are switched to aluminum-free deodorant because of the lymphatic. I learned, I did not know this until December last year. I had a naturopath doctor, not functional wellness, but naturopath. She said parasites love metals. I did not know that. My marina customers tell me they use copper to kill trees, not to kill trees, to kill sea life. They put it in the paint for the bottom of their boats. My carpenters and plumbers say they use copper nails to kill trees. My OBGYNs, and this is up your alley, probably, Dr. Diana, they say copper is what makes IUDs work. And it's so toxic that the woman cannot conceive. And I cooked for so many women who've had severe health problems because of copper devices being implanted in them. This is the shocker on the cooking side. Guess what copper does? It kills key vitamins in your food. And the doctor, I don't know if you know this doctor, I've had this book forever. It's so raggedy, but I don't know how to pronounce her name right, but Dr. Ann Louise Gittleman, it's a gut flush plan. I did not know when I bought this book, she was going to talk about this too. And she says the vitamins it kills are the vitamins your body needs, or zinc won't even work right. Isn't that crazy? And she actually recommends this in her book. And I had no idea when I bought that book. So there's your stainless steel that everybody thinks is so safe just because it's not nonstick. So I'm thinking by now, most everybody knows there was a 20-year cover up with the original nonstick called Teflon, put out by DuPont. Well, it's what they did is the FDA fined them. The workers blew the whistle. There were birth defects and cancers, and they found out a lot of thyroid problems. I cooked on it for years, right? And stainless too, waterless, as a matter of fact. And so all they had to do is pay a fine, put warning labels on, and they were given permission to keep selling it. But they were also encouraged to take the next 10 years to make alternate chemicals and plastic over aluminum that was different from the original PFOA, right? Which is what they got slammed for. Not because it was bad, they got slammed for the cover up. That's what got them in trouble. And so when you're shopping, and my what do I want to say? The people that are really trying to be responsible for their health, the lady I did today, the virtual, she had the Green Pan, she had Caraway, and she had Our Place. Those are all promoted as safe nonstick. So is the Green Pan, so is the Granite Stone, so is Blue Diamond. They're all out there. Hexclad, that's another one. And there's probably others, I don't even know what to call them right now. But what they do, and they do it well, they say this is PFOA free, right? Which is true, but that doesn't make it free of chemicals and plastic. It's just saying it's different chemicals and plastic, and they're mingled together and they're surfaced over aluminum and they're painted different colors to look really nice. But it's terrible. Whatever it is, it's getting in your food, and you just don't realize it because the flavor of your food camouflages it, not to mention seasoning, right? So something worth to note. Now you might think, well, I'm switching to glass or ceramic crock pots or enamel cookware, right? Let's get out of the metal world altogether. Well, hold on. Those are not good either. I know it sounds so depressing, but don't forget we have a solution. But glass, enamelware, and ceramic all shatter or crack around heat pretty easily. They have to minimize that by using anti-shattering binding agents. And what they use the most, if not completely, is lead. That's what Le Creuset has in there. And it's terrible. You can taste it. It's so bitter. Lead, cadmium, aluminum. Those are three of the biggest known brain disruptors. One of my customers, she's a patient of the integrated pediatrician I mentioned, Dr. Bain, special needs, very high lead ratings. Another doctor found that out, a functional wellness doctor. So she was referred to me by her other doctor, Dr. Bain, and she switched completely over to our system, had her daughter retested 1 to 2 months later, and the lead levels completely came down to safe and normal levels, which was amazing. Now, this mom, Louise is her name, she was diagnosed with needing a liver transplant. They gave her 5 years to live, and she had to be on this medication. She took a pass on both. She's like a single mom for the most part, and she couldn't afford it. financially and just the time off and the side effects. And so after switching to our cooking, she had some follow-up appointment and the surgeon said, "What have you changed?" And there was no change. And she said, "Why?" She said, "Well, your lab work looks completely different. You're not even a candidate for this surgery. Like, what have you done?" And all she said, "Well, I have changed my cookware and it seems to be helping my daughter." And she shared this story I already told you. "And do you think it's helping me?" And the surgeon said, "I have no idea, but whatever you're doing is working. Keep doing it." She is I think she's 7 years or more past the 5 years to live, which is amazing, right? And so it obviously affects your liver and kidneys too. Those are your filters, makes sense. So iron, you might think, "Oh, I'm going to iron." You probably think I'm so depressing. But oh my goodness, iron, it's so old fashioned, it's got to be good. Grandma used it. Well, iron is a metal sponge. It is the most porous surface you can cook on. Well, what happens when we heat up our pores as they open up? So there's these channels under there. You're not supposed to wash iron, right? You season it. Well, what's the seasoning that you use? Oil. So one of the risk factors with iron is over time that oil stays in those channels, and so do particles of food. And you can get rancid grease and bacteria, regurgitating in your food. Whenever I do the tests we do on our sessions, whether it's virtual or in person, and people have that, we always include that. And they look at the water that is like, they won't even try it in some cases. You can see it's just dirty. Also, it forms rust. Iron oxide is rust. And the nutritionists that are in my life over all these 18 plus years of teaching this have said that we do benefit from copper and iron if we're getting it from a food source in a mineral form, but not from a metal form. That's very hard on your system. So another thing that's important to know is that there's a lot of studies on Alzheimer patients, and what they see is quite a bit of accumulation of not only the aluminum, but copper and iron metal in their brain. And like I said, you can't control everything, right? But this is an area we can, and it affects us not just now, but years from now. And prevention is key. So we had a gastroenterologist on one of our sessions. I didn't personally cook for this person, but I was told about it. And he said the mental toxicity test we do, which is very clearly shows the reality of this. He said he sees this as a contributing factor to a lot of cases he gets, which he calls leaky gut. And he said when people have leaky gut, they're not actually absorbing the nutrition and they're not digesting it properly. So they're not getting the benefits. And then those micro tears it creates, and a lot of medication has metal particles too, he shared, that creates micro tears for faster absorption. But he said that the proteins can cross the intestinal wall and it can really, I don't know if it initiates or exasperates, maybe a little of both. I don't know, but autoimmune disorders. What I do know is I've had a lot of people sent to me who say that is exactly the progression I went through. Digestive problems, got diagnosed with leaky gut, and then autoimmune disorders. He specifically mentioned 4 that he's personally been treating. So if you know people like this, clients of yours, he mentioned fibromyalgia, multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, and Parkinson. Chiropractors have mentioned to me that those metals can also eat away at the myelin sheath coating over the nerves, which can cause some great pain and discomfort for people. So it's not something you just want to put on the back burner. And I wasn't trying to be punny there, by the way. But the test we do on our virtual and our in-person session is actually very mild and gentle compared to real cooking. One, because we're only cooking for about 5 minutes just to show the difference between this and this and this and this and ours, right? But on top of that, we cook a very gentle alkaline solution, which is like cooking your vegetables. But when you cook acidic foods, it's much harsher. That would be like dairy, tomato based, like a lasagna, spaghetti sauce, any meats, right? The longer in our life we eat this way, the more time it can accumulate in our body. And people with the MTHFR gene especially need to know about this because they don't have the advantage of naturally methylating toxins out of their body easily like other people do. One thing really encouraging, one of my customers is Zelma, and she was 81 when her naturopath sent her to me for lunch. And she was cooking in a very expensive waterless 304 surgical stainless steel cookware brand. And she changed to ours and 81 widow, and she got a really big set. It's our most popular set, actually, not giant, but it's a nice set. And anyhow, her doctor said, I want to test her. And I think she did it about a year later. And she shared at our recipe night. She'd never seen numbers that low on a woman of her age. She said she tested like a young person, which is so encouraging, right? Our body wants to get well. One of the things I share in our sessions is a study done by Dr. McGuigan. He submitted this to the Federal Trade Commission. It's a docket case number in Washington, D.C., so it's very official. But basically, here's what he reported. He said, and he used material that has aluminum. Restaurants, all nonstick, and most stainless steel, unless they're using copper, right? He said he boiled an egg and it produced phosphate poison. He boiled meat and he got chloride poison. He tried cooking water alone, he got hydroxide poison. When he tried cooking all kinds of different vegetables, each time he got hydroxide poison, the same as just water itself. And that's more similar to the tests we do. But his findings were it robs the ability to digest food, producing stomach and intestinal trouble, ulcers, and colitis. So these are the kind of people you want to really be thinking about digestive issues. I've had people cry on my session because they're like, oh my gosh, normally eating this very food, I would be in the bathroom so violently ill and I feel wonderful, right? So in some cases, people are finding out it's not the food, it's what they're using to cook their food, right? Excuse me, we offer in-person and virtual sessions, and they include this toxicity test. So you actually can test your stuff yourself, and I'll talk you through it. And you just learn everything, like you're learning now, only you're walking through the science. And you can reach out to me if you and your spouse, if you're married, want to enjoy a session. So now let me tell you some bells and whistles that I think are wonderful. So everyone wants to know, well, okay, what's different about it as far as the practical uses? So instead of talking about it, I thought I'd show you. Are we good? Okay, so first of all, it's very simple. You start on your stove, and we tell you the temperature that you start. You got to know your stove, right? Where's your medium? Where's your high? Where's your low? Where's your medium high? All that stuff. You never want to use high. It's just superfluous waste. And what happens is the moisture from your food rises to the lid. And we're cooking without water and oil, but you can do that too, right? So if you're going to use water, it's okay because you're going to consume the water with all the contents and it's locked in the nutrition, so it's fine. But it rises to the lid and it drips down to this lip here, and then it forms a seal. And when the inside temperature reaches 187 degrees, this valve starts to click. You can see it. It's scientifically calibrated and weighted as a whole. So instead of this really hot steam whistle, which is destroying 80+%, you're locking it in. I don't know if I mentioned this. I don't think I did. I might talk about them later. Yeah, I'm going to mention it now. I don't want to accidentally forget. I have a customer who has Parkinson. He's on a walker. He cannot exercise. And he came into our office thinking he had this because he was told he did, and he believed he did. And I believed him too, and his wife. But they didn't have their lid with them. So, but it did look like ours. Well, it failed the toxicity test. They were very unhappy because they spent a lot of money on it. And then when they mentioned, well, ours whistled, so it must have had whistled once upon a time. I said, no, that's way too destructive. That's steaming. And they insisted. I said, nope, never been that way. Well, anyhow, they got over their anger with the company that ripped them off, and they invested with us for their health. You know what he told my husband about 2 months later? He said, when we cooked in the fake version, I went to the bathroom once a week. I go every day now. Now, this is a man who cannot exercise. That is the reality of keeping up to 98% of the nutrition and fiber. So important. I didn't want to forget that. So anyhow, it it signals you at 187, you turn it down. What that does is it creates a semi-vacuum and it locks in the nutrition and fiber. And it cuts your cooking time in almost half. And it's not denaturing the healing properties. In fact, you're going to be more energized, it's more flavorful. And what's really practical that our customers love is they're done in about half the time with the cooking part. But while it's cooking, they can walk away. It doesn't spill over. You don't have to stand and watch it and stir it, right? And like strong food odors, like fish and cabbage, are not very pleasant. You won't smell that either. So people love that. And you're energized. That's the best part too. Now, everybody loves, well, before I talk about the handles, little things. I don't need a pot holder. It oversized the knob, so I don't burn my fingers, right? To me, that's a time saver. Also, on my session, I show when you pour liquid, I can't do it on my computer. It goes right where you want. And when you stop, it stops. Like there's no run backs. When I did that on the virtual today, she's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. It's such a clean pour. The other thing is the lids are self-nesting, so they store well and you don't have to go hunting for your lids. Let's say space and time. People love our dual handles. They're ergonomically designed, so it's on your upper arm strength, not your wrist. And also when you have one handle, that's a lot of strain on your wrist. So I have a lot of customers who are in their 70s and 80s who actually want this for their health. They're like, they don't want their other stuff. They're switching even at that stage in life, and they love the handles. It's very comfortable. So that's important too. But my favorite thing about the handles are they're removable. So there's a patent we have there. And what this does is a lot of benefits. It saves a ton of space in your cabinet because imagine each piece has a self-nesting lid, so it just stacks in one little spot. I went from 3 cabinets to 1 when we switched to this. I love that. And it's safer if you have little children around you because there's over 18,000 permanent burns because the child doesn't know there's handles there that want to pull it over and they're scarred for life. One of my customers' sister is 68. She's bald to this day from when she was 2 years old. So those things happen, right? So it's a safety issue, but you also get 5 things in one. It's healthy for cooking. It is oven safe up to 450 degrees. So it's your bakeware too. And it's beautiful serving ware. This looks like a chafing dish and your food stays nice and hot when you're entertaining and the holidays and all that. And the other thing is I replaced my oven with this. My oven is so expensive. This works better than an oven. It heats from the top and the bottom and the sides from the outside in evenly. So on my sessions, in person, I bake a cake that's healthy. It's full of cabbage and very, very little cake, no oil or water. And it bakes in half the time, half the energy of an oven and 0 preheating. So that's an 86% drop in your baking energy bill from the oven, and your air conditioning goes down. So people, when inflation was happening with food and energy, in 2021, that was really going crazy. People were coming into our office and say, oh my gosh, in the middle of inflation, my energy bill is down, my food bill is down. So it's just great, right? So I said cookware, bakeware, it's an oven, it's servingware. The other thing is, now most people know that when it comes to flavor and health, never to store leftovers in your cookware in the refrigerator. Did you guys know that? I was taught that my whole life. I knew that, but you know what I didn't think of? Well, if it's bad in a cold refrigerator, what's it doing on a hot stove? Because that heat is much more reactive than just a cold, stable environment. So that's what our toxicity shows you. Well, this material does not chemically react at all. I just thought of another little quick testimony. This was very unusual. A few months back, I had an older couple, retired couple in their 70s, sent to me by their naturopath. She said on the toxicity test, she said, I'm living proof of what you're saying is true. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, many years ago, I had a hip replacement and I was in the hospital with, what did she call it? Cadmium, aluminum, something poison. It was like a 2 or 3 word thing. I said, oh, it was cobalt cadmium poison. That's what she said. And I said, really? She said, yeah. She said, my personality changed. I had fits of rage and I lost my memory. There's the gut brain health connection, right? Because that's our second brain is our gut and it's our immune system. And her husband said, we almost lost her. He said it's the scariest thing we've ever been through. So that's why surgeons switched away from it too. So that's a really neat story. I never had heard something like that. Anyhow, back to this. You can safely leave your leftovers in here because there is no reaction because this material isn't like others. I will tell you other industries, I don't know if I said this already, but would sometimes use the cheaper suppliers. We got an exclusive contract for the best quality in the planet to make sure it's not a cut corner. Because what they found in the research is other industries sometimes would cut costs by using cheaper suppliers because they are out there and other cookware can use them, but they can't use ours. I bought other cookware made from those to test it. It's a 316 Ti. It's terrible. It's horrible. Well, anyhow, they would have to, these other industries were paying 10 times more to fix their problems within the first year. So that's why our company said we're not doing that. So in the cookware application, we're the only ones that have this highest grade and quality, and that's a really big deal. So you can just leave your leftovers in here and your leftovers won't taste like leftovers. And if you want to keep it airtight like Tupperware, put a few drops of water on the lid, give it a full spin, and you can feel it's an airtight seal and you stick it in the fridge. So what did you save time on? You didn't have to, well, first of all, you cut your cooking time down and you were free to do other things. You didn't have to clean the pan or a serving dish or a storage container, and you got another day off of cooking to look forward to. Our refrigerator is full of leftovers from lots of different days. And so when we want to have a day off of cooking, we just take the leftover we want for that evening and we take it out, we put it on just above low, and in minutes it's reheated, but it tastes like day one. It's mind-blowing. And so you're saving a lot of cooking time and cleanup. You're not wasting groceries. Speaking of which, what really blows people away is how much more leftovers they have when they start cooking this way. And they're like, well, this tastes so good. Why is there so much leftovers? It's because of the nutrition and fiber. It didn't get diminished, right? So you're just full with less. And that's where your 30% or more food savings comes into play. Does that make sense? So, and it's very real. So I even have a lot of testimonies on video of people sharing their, just, they didn't even get it for that reason. It was for the health and the time savings, but they just were blown away by the food savings and the money and all that. And so you do that till it's gone, back and forth, back and forth. Finally, it's empty, right? One thing to clean is better than many things to clean. This material cleans so much easier than stainless steel. And don't you hate it when you can soak one side of a pan in your sink, but the handle won't let you submerge the whole thing? Even our biggest pan fits in a regular sink. There's no handles in the way. And this can even go in the dishwasher. What do you think about that? You can even stack cook 2 or 3 levels of food on one burner. It's only 1 or 2 degrees change from one level to the next. So I call that Legos for adults, but it's kind of handy, just keeping things warm too. But one of the things we offer all of our customers is access to our 5-minute recipe night. We do that once a month. So the people in our DFW, or we even have people that drive from 2 hours away sometimes to come to this from Oklahoma or whatnot. They get to come, but if you're out of the area, we send a Zoom link so you can participate that way and just watch us do the recipes, ask questions, interact with us. We also provide recipes from all around the world because we have customers from all over the globe. See, this is not about a diet because our science applies to all food in all cultures. That's the beauty of it, right? So the other benefit is some people do a lot of restaurant meals, either because they don't know how to cook or they don't have time or they forgot to thaw. Well, people eat out less, which is of course healthier and more cost savings when they can put together a family meal without even having to thaw ahead, faster than a drive-through. So we do what we call 5-minute recipe nights. Isn't that wonderful? And the lifetime warranty is something people love too, because that saves a lot of money on replacement costs. And you can place the warranty in any 2 names you want. If you want to pass it down to the next generation, you could put a child's name. Grandparents usually do that, right? But sometimes it's hard to pick your favorite child. So usually husbands and wives do their own names. But people love the outstanding customer service we provide. We don't advertise. Word of mouth is the best. And so your happiness is our success. When people get their set, we do a one-on-one TLC getting started tips, either in person or FaceTime or Zoom or what have you. And of course, you get the 5-minute recipe night access too. So you're not choosing health or convenience, you're getting both. And we're on call 7 days a week. We don't cook and work and do sessions on Sundays, but we're available when people need us. And people really appreciate that. People love that with the cooking time being cut almost in half, it really is the freedom to really get their best health, but also have more family time because time is something you can't get back. And it's very important and it diminishes the stress of cooking too and the guilt of, oh, I know I shouldn't be going to fast food, but it's all I have time for, or popping this in the microwave, right? It lowers your cooking and baking energy costs by 70 to 86%, which, is a huge financial advantage. And the flavor of the food is unbelievable to everyone. We actually have the pickiest eaters turning around about 98% of the time. It's just amazing. And you can control the texture you like too. So if you even have texture issues, you can decide how crisp, al dente, or soft you want your vegetables, for example. So as far as you guys being holistic practitioners, and any patients you might want to refer, let me just talk about that a little bit. Since gut health makes up 70% of our immune health and it impacts our brain health, we work directly with holistic practitioners in our area here and their patients for different reasons. Everybody has different health goals, and some are just very prevention oriented, right? Here are some various issues that see impressive improvements in both symptoms, and some even have lab work to verify the difference as well, which is really exciting. Numerous types of digestive issues, talked about that earlier. Those usually improve immediately due to no longer denaturing and maintaining the alkalinity of the food, which has been shown to help starve cancer cells, and the non-toxic results we talked about. Studies show that the alkalinity is very important because it's very gentle on your digestive system as well, which I think is also part of the reason why I have people with digestive issues for over 20 years. Suddenly they're fine, right? It's just very, even acidic foods, they can tolerate that, not just tolerate it, but enjoy it without side effects like acid reflux or, those kind of things. So our patented calibrated temperature valve also helps with inflammation and insulin resistance. Both of those have been connected to dementia. And a lot of people are knowing more and more now that dementia is now referred to as type 3 diabetes. And this is also very important with the toxicity issue on your kidney and liver health. And if you have patients who have various autoimmune issues or neurological, like we talked about earlier, including ADHD, ADD, autism, things like that, and inflammation, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, high blood pressure, weight challenges, low energy, all of these things are addressed just by keeping the nutrition and fiber in and the toxins out and keeping it alkaline, right? It's also very important for disruptors of the endocrine system, which is what I had been looking into before this came into my life. So all of this would be wonderful referrals. And most of all, I would say anyone who cooks and has a prevention mindset are going to appreciate this. And then they can share it with others too. We've seen moms of autistic kids cry tears of joy at the improvement they're seeing in their kids' cognitive skills and even their moods, right? And relief from pain with autoimmune disorders. I have a customer, her name's Janice. She was in her 30s when I met her 16 years ago, and she was on 17 meds for that autoimmune disorder. She got an early release from the Air Force after 12 years because of it. She got down to 3 medications within 2 months. Her husband doesn't spend money. He's a Dave Ramsey, like I'm pinching every penny type of guy. He said this is the best medical investment we've ever made. We've had a lot of diabetics say it has saved them hundreds a month on their insulin because, they're not getting that sugar spike with all the nutrition and fiber in place. And of course, weight, we hear that, the decreased need in detoxing. I have a thermographer, and she's a toxicologist, and she shared that her savings was 50% on her food. And she shared at our class, I used to detox my girls so many times a year. She said, I have cut that so far back because they're not getting this constant, little here, little there of metals and chemicals and all that. And one of my patients, Frances, she used to get chelated all the time because she had it was called burning tongue syndrome. It's an autoimmune disorder. I'd never heard of it, but eating was very painful, and it was metal toxicity. She cleaned up her makeup, her cleaning products, everything in her household that could bring aluminum or any other metals. It was gone, but she didn't know about the cooking part. Well, another doctor told her about me, so she said, okay, let me try this out. And she was so blown away. They got a set, and she's been my customer for 16 or 17 years now. She has never had to go back for chelation. She is so thrilled. She's actually grown her set several times over the years. And one of my colleagues, she was diagnosed with endometriosis stage 4. And she was told by every specialist she's 28, that she needed a full hysterectomy. Her mother was devastated because she wanted grandchildren. So she said, promise me you'll do everything to try to get out of this hysterectomy. But every surgeon told her the same thing. So she was scheduled, right? And then they had to reschedule the surgery because the surgeon had a death. And so her friend, her colleague, challenged her to go to her nutritionist. So, because she hadn't done that, she's from Louisiana, eats real Louisiana fried food and all this, delicious bad stuff all the time. And so she went to the nutritionist to be true to her word to her mom. And the nutritionist said, well, I feel like if I put you on this food program, it could really help you. And you may not need that hysterectomy. She said, but there's just one thing. I don't want to take you on as a client unless you're willing to go to a healthy cooking session, because it's also important that you not sabotage that food, because I can't feel as confident my program's going to help you if you're doing that. So again, she agreed to go to that. Didn't really want to, but she did. She got a set, and she started following this program, which she hated the diet. She hated it. It was a plant-based. And it was back when it wasn't cool and there wasn't a lot of choice, right? And she was from Louisiana, so it was hard on her. But she's cooking this way. She went in for surgery. She got woken up, and the surgeon said, well, you've got scar tissue, but there's no sign of endometriosis. And she said, what? And she said, well, I've been eating differently and cooking differently. Could it have anything to do with that? He said, oh, no, it has nothing to do with food. Are you surprised? Well, I just want you to know she went on to have 3 boys. Is that not amazing? I love that. And that's why I love my job. But how this helps you is, I feel that your patients having even better results because they're taking your protocol and they're really surrounding it with protecting your protocol. It's just going to give them that much more excellent, lasting results, which reflects great on you. And that gets you more patients referred, because you always want to share someone who makes a difference in your life. And on my end, I have so many customers I cook for, and very often I'm asked, I'm dealing with ABC or XYZ. Do you know anybody good about that? So for me, I love having additional resources for those customers as well. And like, I already know who I'm sending if they have endocrine issues or thyroid problems is Dr. Diana, right? And so it's just a nice two-way referral thing. So to learn more, if you want to, our kitchen products are only provided through licensed and trusted authorized brick and mortar dealerships. They do not sell online. I know that's kind of a bummer, but it's okay. I can help people all across the country. I do it all the time. But here's why they do that. They want to ensure authenticity and quality in our valuable lifetime warranty and customer service. And they want to prevent confusion and people being misled by imitators, as well as a lot of fraudulent products that are out there. Like the guy with the Parkinson. Remember I told you the story, he can go to the bathroom and now he goes every day. It's just like that. So that's why they do it that way. So what we do is we work directly with practitioners and their patients, and we recommend scheduling a virtual session if you're out of our area to do the science together and connect the dots with attention to detail. And if anyone wants to learn more, or even if you just want to know how to do the toxicity test yourself, right? On what you have, if you're one of those people, I need to know this for myself, contact me and I'll help you with either setting up a session, which is fun, and we'll do the science together, or I'll just help you know how to do that yourself. But it's so simple, but it's so important. And I do recommend people experience a session with their spouse if they're married, as it's far more effective than just regurgitating bits and pieces, right? It's important to be on the same page, as cooking impacts not just the person who cooks, but the entire family. Plus, the men love the science and engineering. It's very impressive. And guys like to protect their family. They get it, even if they don't cook. So I thought I'd tell you about our professional referral program. Am I doing okay, Dr. Diana? Am I okay? So rather than expensive advertisement, we found that focusing on education first, without focusing on sales or anything like that, it really allows practitioners and their patients to experience a difference for themselves, and it creates the best word of mouth advertisement. It just works so well for us. So we have a very generous professional referral program, and it's not tied to sales at all, just learning. So we put our money where our mouth is, right? So if someone's in our area, if we do 3 in-person sessions with a complete meal, they get to pick a gift. Our gifts are lifetime warranty. They're around $500. And if it's a virtual, then it would be 6 virtuals because we're not actually cooking. And all they have to do is meet some very common sense guidelines, like, oh, that makes total sense. You may choose one of our lifetime warranty gifts just for doing that. We have a way to get the 6 virtuals down to 4. So there's ways to do that. We can discuss that. Another option is if you prefer to receive a nice 5% practitioner referral fee, if I should happen to get any sales from any of your patients, then you could get that instead of credit for the gifts. But let's say there's other patients that meet these common sense guidelines, but they choose not to get that for their health, then we can still give you gift credit for that, right? So you can just let me know what you want. I just want to get the message out is what I care about. And we don't focus on sales, and no one will ever feel like we do, because the education and getting the word out to more people has more value to us. We know the people who care, they're going to want to get this. So to receive the referral rewards, you need to contact me directly. I'll provide my contact at the end, okay? And of course, if you miss that, Dr. Diana can always get you that. But if you want to know more about that and ideas on how to effectively share, because there's a right way to share, I'm happy to share details and even provide sample verbiage that some of my practitioners use. You talk to your friends and family acquaintances a little different than to your patients, right? So we can discuss that. My integrated pediatrician who treats children on the spectrum lists me as an important recommended session to experience while they're waiting for all their intake stuff to come back, and basically lets the parents be the ones to reach out to me. But that her personality is a little different. She wants to command them to, but she's very loosey-goosey about it, right? Even though she's very upset if people don't do it. So I don't know. I think I have to work with her a little more. But one of my naturopath doctors is a lot more proactive, but she's very bold and all that with her clients. And when they're on her new nutrition program, she makes our session part of their new patient package. And she sets the expectation of getting a follow-up call from me to set up their complimentary session with their spouse. So unless, of course, they don't want one, which is almost never the case, right? And they're really excited about it. She tells her own, results and all that. So they're excited. But that method is more fruitful because she's more proactive, right? But you can do what's best for you. What usually works best is to make it about learning a way of cooking that's healthy healthier in protecting the healing properties of cooked food, eliminating toxic overload, and how that impacts for whatever their health challenges or goals are, more than making it about a product to cook in. Now, there's always an exception. If someone is, well, let me just say, most people are so much more open about learning if they're just learning beneficial results than a product, right? That's just how people are wired. But if you know your patient is proactively concerned about non-toxic and healthy cooking tools and avoiding toxic metals and chemicals, they're going to be very open, and then you can, be very straight with them. You do it how you want. I'm just giving you what we've seen across all the years. So just kind of know your audience, I guess, or try to know your audience. Use your own judgment. Example, Dr. Diana and I met at a 3-day amazing health event. And there's a lady that signed up for an in-person lunch session with her husband. And then she was going to cancel. And here's why she was going to cancel. She said, I feel guilty for you to cook for me because we already eat super clean and healthy. So there's nothing you could tell me that I probably don't already know. I'm a cancer survivor. I've turned my home into a wellness center because we have so much stuff. And I already have waterless cookware. There's that buzzword. And an extremely safe cookware. So I just feel like we would be wasting your time. And I said, well, since you've gotten through cancer and you know metal toxicity is a problem, you are going to want to know what I'm going to share. And I finally convinced her to let me just do the science. So didn't cook for her and her husband, just did the science. I said, bring all your best with you to our office. And then we pulled out other things besides so she could test everything that people cook in. And she was shocked. She was like, oh my gosh. She said, I can't believe, she said, I didn't think it was possible that there was something more I could learn. No one knows what they don't know. I say that all the time. I told her, I said, see, and before the day was done, she had 3 people wanting me to set up a session with them. So it's a real, she said, I'm eating raw until I get this in my kitchen. So it's really important to understand people think they know everything. They don't know what they don't know. And it's helpful to say things like, it's like a cooking show on TV, right? But the focus is different. It's a healthier way of cooking that's also practical and time and money savings and improving flavor. And what I recommend is see a session yourself. That'll help you to evaluate, one, is this a tool that I would like my patients to know about? And do you like how I share it, right? And then you'll know if you want to share it yourself or not. So I figure, well, Dr. Diana thought you guys would appreciate knowing a little bit more about the price range and things like that. So do not tell your patients this because you'll shut them down, right? Because they have to experience the savings and all that and understand the connecting of the dots. But about the cost, let me say this first. Due to the superior quality, it's not cheap, but it's extremely affordable due to all the savings, especially food, which is immediate and it's tangible. Some people, actually a lot of people like to pop it on their favorite card because they like the points they get. And when they do that, when they pay it in full by check or a card, we give them a cash bonus gift worth about $500. So that's one way. Other people love that we have an option of what we call our affordable monthly plan, which is very convenient and it doesn't actually even start until 1 to 2 months after delivery. And that allows customers to use that average 30% of food savings to build as new income to cover that monthly before the monthly starts. And the way the monthly works, it works like a credit card, but it's not a card, but it's a credit line. And it can be paid off anytime, just like you pay off your credit card. So, if you wonder how many months, it's up to you, just like it's up to you when you want to pay off your card. So that's another wonderful thing people love. Most customers actually see, I'm going to say probably 85 to 90% of our customers tell us that their food savings is higher month in and month out than their monthly plan. So many are saying it's making more room in their budget for other expenses that were never able to be covered by their food cost anyway, because your food is already tied up. Your food dollars are tied up in you're eating it, right? So savings in food alone pays for a set within 2 to 3 years which means unless you retire from eating, it's a free set 2 to 3 years from this point in time. And the benefits for life. And you would normally have paid that money out in groceries for the next 2 to 3 years again, only this time it's profit. And again, every 2 to 3 years for the rest of your life. So you can see price and cost are not the same, right? You can buy individual pieces, but most people prefer getting a set because there's a really nice discount on this set. The bigger the set, the bigger the discount. And the set include bonus gifts. So you get more than the set discount, you get additional bonus gifts around it. We also have a basic package to start, which isn't a set, but it's like 2 to 3 little pieces. Well, I shouldn't say little, one's a pretty nice size, but it's $70 a month. It's just above $2,000, and that's a little over $2 a day. A way to calculate your food savings, if you're kind of like, I wonder how does that work for me? I'm a homeschool mom, right? Or I used to be. The average savings is 30% on groceries. Some save more. So for example, let's say you have $600 a month in groceries. 10% is an easy number. Move the decimal over one. That brings your 660, right? Times it by 3, that's your 30%. That's $180. If you want to be conservative and say, well, what if it's only 20%? Well, then 2 times 60, 120. So take your monthly, move the decimal over, multiply it by 3. That's your monthly grocery savings. And don't forget to factor in if you feel or your patient feels a 5-minute recipe that is ready in 30 minutes to eat, and I can do something else during those 30 minutes. I would cut back a restaurant meal here and there. Well, that's more money saved, right? So what I would tell people when I do a session with them is how many restaurant meals, if any, would be cut in a month's time if you could do 5-minute recipes. And let's say they say, well, I'd cut back one a week. That's 4 a month. Well, if their average restaurant meal for the husband and wife is $50, or maybe they're with their kids, it's $50 or more, 4 times 50, that's another $200 saved. So, you can combine restaurant with groceries if both are at play. But you get that total monthly food savings, compare it to the monthly plan. And that's a quick way to know, is this a wash or does it put me financially ahead with more new income that I can put towards savings or to help pay for other expenses that I wouldn't have had otherwise? We have so much to choose from. Lots of cookware, really small, like this little guy here, which is important for your small cooking and reheating leftovers, to really big, do a 24-pound turkey on the stove. Juicy, tender, makes its own gravy and zero basting. It's amazing. We also have tea kettles. We have bakeware. We have wonderful kitchen tools, including a food processor. I should show you that maybe in a little bit. Remind me, Dr. Diana. We have slow cookers. We have automatic rice cookers. We have roasters. We have pieces that fry chicken without any oil with built-in timers. That same piece can do lasagna in 35 minutes without boiling the pasta first. Try that. It's amazing and wonderful for traveling too. You don't even need a stove for some of our pieces. We even have a travel size version of it. Now, individual pieces, if you were to go that way, they range from $450 to over $1,000. But the sets on a monthly plan range from $122 to $270. Most sets people get are $4 to less than $8 a day, right? The big, I'm cleaning out my entire kitchen is $15 a day, but only for about 3 years, right? Or you can pay it off as fast as you want. But it's paying for itself while you're using it too. So our most popular sets are for less than $8, and the sets include a generous A premium with a learning session. So an A premium is worth about $1,200 to $1,250. That's the one that fries chicken with no oil, makes a lasagna in 35 minutes, pizza, no boiling of the pasta. It's amazing, has a 12-hour timer too. But since people no longer want to use anything else after experiencing the difference, what we do for them is we say, well, do you want to do a pot trade with us and donate one of your smallest pieces to either your favorite charity in your area, or if you want to send it in to us, we'll demonstrate with it to show why people don't want to use that material anymore. And they get another bonus cookware choice. So if they're getting one of our smaller sets, it's going to be about a $500 extra piece of cookware gift. If it's our full size sets, and we have several different sizes, it's another $1,250 value just for doing a pot trade or donation, depending on the size you choose. Plus, if you decide, I just want to pop it all on my card or just write a check and be done instead of the monthly, you get another cash bonus gift, which is a $500 value piece of cookware, because you're not doing the monthly plan. There is no sales tax if you're not in Texas, so that's a huge savings. Some people get a 0% credit card and of their own to get that extra piece and enjoy 0%. I even have my card company is letting me send a link for people who want 15 months 0% and $200 cash back with points for every dollar. So if anybody wants that while it's alive, let me know. And I think I get $50 worth of points for sharing that. So it's a little thing, but it's mostly about helping people. So I hope you enjoyed this. And I hope I inspired you, and thank you for having me on. And I hope you want to learn more. And feel free to text me too if you just want to connect, and we can go from there. Again, I'm Marianne Morris with Healthy Cooking. My cell number is 469-247-5990. And if you want to visit our website, it's healthykookingoftexas.com. And while you're there, check our reviews. And we have a testimonial tab. You can check that too. And if you go to our YouTube, there is a playlist called Testimonials, and listen to those. These are people speaking from their heart. And now I will say we also have some recipes there, and don't be put off. Some of our recipes are very indulgent. And the reason we do that is we appeal to a wide spectrum of people. We have a lot of customers who are very health conscious, but we also have customers who, if we were only focused on very serious health things, they would never even consider us. They love indulgent food, they love good flavor, and they love time saving. So we have everything there. So just keep that in mind. Don't judge me too hard for that. But let me know if you were part of Zoom with Dr. Diana so I can show appreciation to her. And I think that's all I have, unless you want me to show you what everybody wants as our food processor for sharing us with others.
I think this was great. I think let's wrap for time. And then everyone, please reach out to her directly. This is very generous that, we have her direct contact information and can use her as a resource. Honestly, that was so thorough that I am shocked I have no questions.
And I'm so sorry. I can't believe I went that long over.
No, that's okay. But I just usually I would have 5 questions and I have none. So that was incredible. And you guys, as far as pricing, she can get into it with you individually. We know, this thing lasts a lifetime, and I just am floored by the difference it can make in our health. I do want to go over real quick the heavy metal detox protocol using the Dr. Dale products. It really is incredible to hear that even just changing the cookware, it appears that with so many of their client testimonials, the metals and all the crap just kind of leaves on its own, which is great. If we're ever in a situation where we want to help the body, we do have our thyroid toxicity panel. You might not need the thyroid data, but you do get a heavy metal panel on there via urine. The type of testing that Mary Ann is talking about, though, is actually testing the cookware itself. And she has almost this cool at-home science experiment that you can do. So that would be testing the cookware. I'm talking about testing the body for heavy metal levels, and you could just easily order that online. Our Mercury Plus Detox Homeopathic needs to be paired with our Lymphatic Detox Plus Homeopathic as the drainage remedy. Also, our hepatic glutathione pathway formula is going to open that detoxification pathway. And it's great if someone does have the MTHFR, which you've mentioned. And then our whole body detox kit will help pull out all of that other junk as well. And that's our Kidney Pro, Liver Pro, Whole Body Immune, and Colon Pro. So I am going to wrap it. Thank you so much. So this again will live in our video library forever. And so that we don't have to cut Mary Ann, I'm just going to end the session, but I will reach out to you after. And thank you so much for your time. This was incredible. And thank you everyone for listening as well.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.